Welcome to the Medical Influencers Show. I'm Dr. Ross Carter, and my special guest today is Dr. Deborah Matthew. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. So, can I call you Dr. Deb?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Dr. Deb, you are a very, very well-known in the hormone industry, I guess the hormone field, not the industry. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience there?
Yeah, well, I actually originally trained as a pediatrician, if you can imagine. And I was having my own hormone issues, but I didn't realize that. I was exhausted all the time. I was irritable, snapping at my family. My poor husband didn't know what to do with me. Like 1 minute, everything was lovely. And the next minute I would just snap and think, why am I married to this man? What on earth was I thinking? And the poor guy was just getting whiplash, not knowing what kind of person I was going to be at any given moment. And I just felt flat, like I was putting one foot in front of the other, making my way through the day. But I was doing the things I really had to do. And if there's anything that didn't have to get done today, like going out and having fun, it just got left by the wayside because I just wasn't feeling it. And I had no idea why I felt this way because nothing in my medical training helped to understand this. I wasn't depressed, but I just didn't feel normal. And what changed for me is my husband actually came across a book called The Sexy Years, written by Suzanne Somers. And I can assure you, The Sexy Years, which it was not that at my house.
Okay.
If it was called The Woman's Book of Hormone Problems, my husband wouldn't have touched it with a 10-foot pole, but that's not what it was called. And he picked it up, and when he looked at it, he could see all these things that were happening to me. And he brought the book home to me, and I was really resistant at first because, as you can imagine, right, as doctors, we don't want to get our information from celebrities, right? Suzanne Somers, like Chrissy Snow, the Thigh Master.
Right.
But I read the book, and it changed my whole life because when I saw all about these women in the book and how they were feeling just like me and how much better they felt when they got their hormones imbalanced, it allowed me to open my mind. And I realized there's a whole bunch of stuff I did not learn in medical school. They did not teach us this stuff. And I learned there were places I could go to be certified and trained. And so since then, I've changed everything because I realized that a lot of times when we're using prescriptions for people, we're kind of putting a Band-Aid on the symptom, but we're not really making them well. And there are some really, really common things that people are suffering with all the time where we just don't have a drug for it anyway. And if we can help women to get their hormones back in balance, they sleep better, their mood is better, their energy is better, they can control their weight, their marriage is better, they're better parents, they're more productive on their job, and they just feel so much better. It's so rewarding and it's so fun.
That's awesome. So do all women at a certain age need to go on some type of hormone?
Well, women can have hormone imbalances at any age, right? Like lots of teenagers have all kinds of menstrual problems, and at any age, women can have problems. But of course, as we go through menopause, all women have hormone changes. And we used to say, like when I was in medical school in the 90s, we were taught all women should go on hormone replacement therapy for their own good to protect their heart, their brain, and their bones. And then, of course, in 2001, the Women's Health Initiative study came out and kind of threw that for a loop. And what we know now, 20 years later, is that there are different ways of doing hormone replacement therapy. The one-size-fits-all approach is not the best way to do it. And maybe not everybody needs hormone replacement therapy, but there are a lot of women whose quality of life would be so much better. Their risk for chronic disease would be very different. And it really is a life-changing thing for some women.
So how does a woman know that let's start with how does a woman know that she has a hormone problem and not she's just a highly emotional person and that's more of her personality and not because of a chemical situation? How does a woman know?
Yeah, that's a really good question and that's really confusing. But as women, we know when we don't feel like ourselves. We know that we used to feel that way and now we're behaving this way and it just doesn't feel right. So if nothing's changed, if you've always been this way, well, maybe it's not a hormone problem. But if something is different, if you're not feeling like yourself, if you know that you don't feel normal, women should listen to that intuition, because there probably is something going wrong. It's not always a hormone problem. There could be nutrient deficiencies, or, they could be eating a food that they have a hidden sensitivity to. There can be other things besides just hormones that are causing this, but it's a really, really common problem. It is not recognized, by doctors. And so when they go in to complain that they don't feel good, what have we got to offer? They get sleeping pills, they get antidepressants, but those things aren't really going to fix the cause of the problem if it's a hormone imbalance.
Got it. And so if they feel just not their normal self, then that's when they should look into this. Is that correct?
That's right. And there are common symptoms.
Yes.
So there's checklists, that women can go through. So if women are in the perimenopausal age range, sort of 35 to 55, a lot of times they don't sleep soundly at night. So they're waking up and they're not getting that good sound sleep. They're tired in the day, hard to drag themselves out of bed, and then crashing in the late afternoon. They can have weight gain. They can feel more anxious, more irritable. And the reason is, in this time frame, what's happening is progesterone levels are dropping. So they're still making estrogen, but progesterone's going down. And progesterone is the calming hormone. And so if you don't have enough progesterone, we get more irritable, mood swings, anxiety, not sleeping soundly. And menstrual changes happen too. So PMS gets worse and lasts longer and becomes really disruptive. And periods can get really heavy, and they can come more frequently. So now every 3 weeks you got to deal with it instead of once a month. So these are really typical things that tell us that there's a problem with the estrogen progesterone balance. And that's what we typically see in perimenopausal women. And what doctors have to deal with that is birth control pills and hysterectomies. That's what we got, or uterine ablations to minimize the bleeding. Once women get above 50 or they go through menopause, then we tend to get more dryness. And it's not just vaginal dryness, but dry eyes, dry skin, dry hair, everything gets dry. We can get the flat mood, just kind of depressed, tired, loss of interest in things. Weight gain, the average woman gains 20 pounds when she goes through menopause.
Wow.
So loss of interest in sex. There's a whole constellation of symptoms. And I actually wrote a book called This Is Not Normal, A Busy Woman's Guide to Symptoms of Hormone Imbalance, which has a whole bunch of checklists so women can go through and sort of see what patterns, their symptoms would suggest, so that they can know whether it seems like it's a hormone problem and get the help they need.
So the book title is This Is Not Normal?
This is not normal.
I love that. That's a fantastic title. Great. So this book will walk a woman. It's for women primarily, correct?
This one is for women, yeah, and it walks through all sorts of different hormone issues to understand how that would make you feel, so that you can go through the list and see if this sounds like you.
Okay. So once a woman has gone through this checklist, does it also give recommendations on what to do about that, or what happens then?
Sure. So there are suggestions for lifestyle changes, nutrition, stress management, some vitamin supplements that you can do to start getting back into control. And it also does go through hormone replacement, like which hormone replacement would you need? So for example, the perimenopausal women with the heavy periods and lots of PMS, they don't need extra estrogen. What they need is progesterone. So it talks about what is progesterone, how do you get it, what are the risks and benefits, so that they can have a more informed conversation with their doctor about whether hormone replacement therapy would be appropriate for them.
And what about supplementation? Is that part of the book, or do you cover that as well? Because I assume that's a big deal as well.
Yeah, so I do cover supplementation. It's really difficult to give exact doses and exactly what supplement you should take, because we're all very unique and individual. And so, without knowing the person's individual history, has to be a little bit generalized. But definitely we talk about which vitamins and supplements can be helpful, so that there are things that women can do on their own at home to get themselves started feeling better.
So it gives you some actual steps to take. And then once you start doing those things and you go, well, I obviously need to see a physician, but my doctor is not, obviously not the best in this area or specialized. Do you give a tips on how to figure out who to see or talk to, or how does that work?
Yeah. So this is something that is enormously frustrating for women, because almost every single woman that I see has already been to their primary care doctor or their gynecologist. They are told they're too young to have a hormone problem. There's no such thing as these kind of hormone imbalances. They don't want to measure their hormone levels to find out. They just put them on birth control pills, or worst of all, they tell them that they are normal. But like, if they were normal, why do they feel this way, right? So in the book, there are websites that you can go to in order to look up doctors who've been trained to approach hormone balance in a natural and in a healthy way to help women get back on track. And that's so important, because sometimes just by changing lifestyle habits and using some vitamins, it's enough. Managing stress is a huge cause of hormone problems for women, and goodness knows there's lots of stress going on right now. Managing stress really, really helps a lot. Maybe that's all that you need. But if you need more, your regular doctor is unfortunately usually not the person that's able to help you. So there are some places you can go to find somebody.
So does it give you lists of doctors in certain areas, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different websites that have directories, and so you can type in like your city or your zip code, and it'll give you a whole list of doctors. And there really are more and more doctors in different areas now. So it is getting easier to find somebody. It used to be really hard.
Interesting. And now with the age of telemedicine jumping up, is that something that you do as well?
We have started to do telemedicine. It's a little bit hard to prescribe some of these hormones for people that live a distance because of different rules. But there is a lot that we can do to give people information, get them started, get them tested, and point them in the right direction. And if we have to help them find a local person, then we can do that too.
Perfect. So you would basically recommend if a woman is not feeling herself at really any age, it's not specifically on one specific age, but it can apply to any, but especially when they're in the 40s area, that's when they start not feeling themselves. And this is when you should definitely start looking into if there's imbalances of the hormones and start to pay attention to that, and then take tests to help determine if that could be what's causing the problem, correct?
That's right, because this causes so much unnecessary suffering. I mean, this is so common that we accept it as normal. Pressing snooze a couple of times in the morning, needing that cup of coffee in the afternoon, taking a sleeping pill at night, being kind of grouchy sometimes, forgetting stuff. I mean, oh my gosh, there are so many women who need sticky notes for their sticky notes. So we can't remember where we left our car keys or why we walked in the room. And we just think it's aging. And one of the things I've been telling people lately is, look at the old guys that are running for president. They're running for president. They're not accepting aging and just blaming whatever ailments they have on how old they are. If you are 40 or 50, your memory should be good. And so there is a problem if it's not.
Gotcha. So memory is a big one.
Yes. Yeah, finding the right word that you want to say, that's one of the biggest ones of all.
All these symptoms are making me feel like, wow, maybe I have some problems with my own hormones. I fit in that 50s, but anyway, so that's funny. Cool. Well, I love that, the information. And is that the book that you had mentioned, This Is Not Normal, right?
Yes.
Is that your newest book, current book?
That is a current book. That's right. And if anybody is interested, it's available on Amazon. This Is Not Normal. But it also is available as a free ebook at isityourhormones.com. So if anybody is just piqued their interest, want to know if this could be it for you, you can get a free copy of the book online. You can kind of look through the checklists, and then you'll know whether this is something you need to look into further.
And what was the website again? One more time?
Yeah. isityourhormones.com.
Perfect. .com. And can this be for, now the website, is it for women specifically, or is it for men and women, just in case?
So this particular isityourhormones.com has the book, which is for women. There are some chapters in the book about stress hormones and thyroid hormones and insulin, which is the one that regulates our blood sugar. Those are relevant to both, but specifically this is more for women. I have another book coming out. It's at the editor. That's going to be for men's health, but that one's not available just yet.
Then it would be, it's not your wife.
That's a good title. Right now, the working title is Why Can't I Keep Up Anymore?
Why can't I keep up anymore? I like the double entendres there. I like that. That's a good title. I love that. Well, I'm a big fan of books and writing them. So it really can help educate people on so many valuable things, especially when it comes to not being yourself and not feeling like yourself anymore. So I really love that. Perfect. Well, Dr. Deb, I think you've given us some fantastic information, and the easiest way to get in touch with you would be just go to your website, or is there a better way?
No, the website is a great way. It is signaturewellness.org. And be happy to answer questions and help in any way that I can.
Beautiful. Is there anything that I have not covered that you'd like to mention?
You know what? I guess one thing that I would like to mention is the idea of bioidentical hormones. If we could just take a second and talk about that.
I would love that.
So part of the reason that we've run into trouble with hormone replacement in the past as medical doctors is that we've been prescribing drugs that mimic our hormones, but they're not the exact same thing as our hormones. And in medical school, they didn't really point out that there was a difference between the real thing and the synthetic drugs. So we really weren't even aware. But now we understand that the synthetic drugs aren't an exact match. And so they do some of the same things, but not all of the same things. And therefore, the risks and the benefits aren't quite the same. So for women who are going to choose to use some hormone replacement therapy, it's really important to look for the natural form of the hormone so that it's an exact match for what your ovaries are supposed to be making. And that way we can get the benefits. We can measure your levels, because we can't measure your blood level of the drugs that are in birth control pills or the synthetic hormone replacement, because they're not supposed to be in your body. There is no blood test for that. But if you're on the natural hormones, we can use low doses. We can customize the dose for where you feel you're best. We can follow your lab levels, and we can really make sure that you are feeling your best so that we can get the most out of the benefits and we can really minimize the risks.
Does that apply to thyroid as well?
You know, that does apply to thyroid, but there actually are no drug versions. So let me try to clarify. Bioidentical means an exact match for what's made in your body. So there are synthetically made thyroid hormones, but they are bioidentical. So even though they're made in a lab, the end result is they're the same thing as what your body would make. And for men, for testosterone replacement, even if it's made in the lab, it's exactly the same as men's testosterone. It is only our female hormones that are made as drugs. Okay. And it just makes no sense. These are available. You can get them from, Walmart pharmacy. Lots of them are covered by by your insurance. There's just no need to use the synthetic ones anymore. It doesn't make sense.
I love that. Well, thank you for mentioning that. I missed that. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, fantastic. Dr. Deb, it was a pleasure speaking with you today on the show. I wish you wonderful luck in the future, and thank you for coming on today.